You're listening to the Buns.com podcast network.
Buns, buns, buns.
Welcome to Pixels and Ink Podcast, episode 260, brought to you by CG Magazine. I'm your host, Lisa Mior, and joining us today are Brendan Frye.
Hello, Lisa.
Brendan Quinn.
Hi, Lisa.
And Phil.
That's me. Hey.
Yay! So how's everyone doing today?
Doing well.
You doing
Why,
good?
thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing just fine, thanks.
That's me. That's me.
Are we
Sorry.
starting over from that?
No.
just keep going?
That's just part of the fun.
Yeah. Thanks for providing the soundtrack, Phil. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no
What was
problem.
that?
It was a friend of mine sent me a link that I assumed was a website, and it was, in fact, a video that started playing
Well, a
immediately
video.
and loudly.
What kind of video?
It's the
Phil?
trailer for Jigsaw, the new song.
Oh, I
movie.
watched that
Oh,
earlier.
Yeah, which I have not watched it yet.
How are they doing it?
There's
Obviously.
lasers now. We don't know. That's part of the mystery, Brendan, that we'll find out when watching
But
the
isn't
movie.
Jigsaw dead?
He's been dead for like
Yeah, he was
4
dead.
of the
He was
movies,
dead for
or-
half
yeah.
the series. That didn't stop him. He had more planned for after he was dead than when he was alive.
Better prep time
Yeah.
than Batman.
So do they have like other bad guys now? So Jigsaw, do they have maybe like Puzzle? Maybe like, I don't know. If I was wittier, I'd come up with better names, but how did they go over that?
Oh, there was like he had
Apprentices.
apprentices, and then that apprentice was gathering other apprentices through the Jigsaw games.
Totally. So we can only assume that that's spawned a new series of apprentices.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds like fun.
Ideally, millennial apprentices.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're going to be in their phones and possibly have top knots?
We can only hope.
How about death by strangulation of top knot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway, moving on. Game news. Who wants to get started with that one? What'd you find, Brendan Frye?
Oh, we could talk about... Oh, what could we talk about? Like, let's go over the loot box thing. I think that's kind of really exciting.
Yeah,
What's this now?
tell us about it.
Well, Quinn, why don't you tell us about it?
We're really prepared today.
I think what happened was that the last year the games industry on consoles made $7.8 billion off of DLC and microtransactions and things like that.
I think at the top ones. I'm pulling up the
so
story.
the largest AAA publishers.
Believe it or not,
Ubisoft.
EA,
I would never have thought that.
Blizzard Activision are at the top of the list in a shocking turn of events.
That's impossible, really.
And GTA 5 made something like 80% of its revenue since the game launched off of downloadable content.
Oh, God.
Like $1.4 billion, give or take.
So worldwide digital console revenue will reach, so this year will reach $7.8 billion.
Oh, that's so frustrating because I was really hoping that this stuff would go away, but clearly it's just going to.
That's where the money's at. I know. I
praise,
hate it.
yeah.
I hate it so
Okay,
much.
so Grand Theft Auto in total has earned $1.4 billion in revenue. 78% of that coming from add-on content.
It's so ridiculous.
That's insane.
So ridiculous.
Oh, wait.
You've got a graph.
I'm not going to show you the graph.
Oh.
Who cares? Activision Blizzard has seen players already spent $61 million on the console to purchase in-game loot boxes for Overwatch.
I guess this explains why it's taking so long for Red Dead Redemption to form, because the new Red Dead game to form, because they want to make sure that the online functionality is top tier and they can make as much money as they possibly can
Think of how
before it
many
comes out.
horses you can buy in that game. Think of how many different lassos you can buy.
Yeah, because Lord knows, when I played the last one, I was like, boy, this online content is really the strength of
Did
this
you
product.
have online?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
You go shoot cowboys.
Oh, right. That's not
yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great.
All right. Do you want to move on to the next story, Lisa?
That was a thing. How about we talk about the new Pacific Rim trailer that dropped?
Well, that's a movie. We should get to that after.
Or are we waiting for that one?
Well, we wait to the film section.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I'm new
okay.
to this.
It's okay.
I'm
Talk
breaking
about
the
the big Doom reveal
Oh, yes.
No, it's huge.
that John Romero finally revealed that he in fact was the original model for Doom Guy on the cover of the original game.
Now, I really want to know if those are his real abs.
I mean, he doesn't strike me as like a fitness freak type of guy, but
No,
you know,
he
you
was
never
pretty
know.
fit back in the day.
He was a young man.
Yeah.
It was years and years ago.
He was pretty metal.
But apparently he was frustrated that the model just didn't quite get the direction that he wanted it to go. So he told the guy to, get out of the way, and he took over, and the rest is history.
So I got a picture of young John Romero over here.
Oh, how
Okay.
exciting.
He does not indeed have abs.
He does not have ripped abs.
Sorry, he's not ripped. But man, that curly hair,
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Love the glasses.
Yeah, he's a classy man.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
Okay, what? And 1 second, what else?
There was a little bit. I guess I got a little bit of salacious,
Ooh.
drama-ridden, gossipy kind of news.
Oh, how
Oh, that's
exciting.
right. Yes.
So there was this. Okay, this is a really long story that started way back in early February,
Gotcha.
late February. So there's this composer that does 8-bit style music.
Okay.
And she did some work for a game called Star Mazer, and her name is Alex. Sorry if I mess up the name, but it's Alex Mior.
She's kind of on a suing kick, so be
Yeah.
very careful.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just facts are as they are. She put out a Okay, so she started putting orders, DMCs against Star Mazer, who insists that they actually owned the rights to the music that she had. That didn't succeed. So she tried to take the music, put it on the album on Bandcamp to get her followers to boycott the game. Bandcamp took it down. She tried to do it on her own site. That got taken down. From then on, there was a DMC issue that went all over Vimeo, YouTube, anywhere that this game kind of appeared. It got really messy with some of the YouTubers. There were some death threats issued. Anyway,
YouTubers love death threats.
oh, they
Death
go
threats and doxing, they're huge on that.
and Hitler references is from
Oh,
what
of
I was
course,
looking.
yeah.
But anyway, so that's been pretty messy. So there's more to it now. Recently, River City Ransom had officially received another DMCA.
This is River City Ransom
Underground. Sorry,
Underground,
the reboot, the Kickstarter game. Anyway, so they discovered, they decided to take down everything based on the whole legal issue because they didn't want to deal with this sort of thing. They want to avoid the
The
legal
developer said that we can't spend another minute thinking about the false DMCA complaints filed against us in our YouTube and Twitch communities. So basically, they know that they're in the right, and they just can't bother with it right now.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
it's easier just to take it off.
Yeah.
So they just took the game down, or just
Yeah.
They changed the soundtrack.
Oh wow!
Well, they're working on changing it right now,
then
and
that's
that's actually what happened to Star Mazer too. They ended up posting it with the new soundtrack, and it was beyond the soundtrack. It was also sound effects.
Oh wow!
And so they had to redo all the sound effects as well. That one is currently available. River City Ransom Underground right now is not sure when it's going to be posted.
Oh wow!
When it's going to be finished.
So why is Alex doing this? I'm sure there's a backstory to this, and it wasn't just a random.
Okay, so there's a number of theories that are going around.
Okay.
One.
Let's go with the least salacious and most factually based.
According to something issued during the Star Mazer post, basically when Star Mazer's developers and publishers did a big blog post on their Kickstarter page, originally she left the project due to health issues.
Okay.
And didn't quite, according to them, this is she allegedly didn't finish what needed to be finished. And so a lot of theories are going around that there were some health issues going on there and some mental health issues. But again, because a lot of her social media was taken down, she wiped it down, and the last things I could find were that are recent that weren't from her own voice were nothing really conclusive from her side of view. But this theory is that there was a lot of that going on. There was a theory that there's a rise to too quick of a rise to fame, which is enough to make anyone go a little bit panicked when you're having to deal with a lot of different issues like this. I mean, another way we could talk about this is that when you sign a contract where your essentially your property is whoever you write it for. Like the music is written for the property, and they own the property of whatever she produces during the time that she's working for them. That's a sticky contract to work with as a musician to begin with. So you kind of realize that this is making more money. I could be making more money. It could be that issue. So it's very unclear right now as to why. But those are the number of theories that seem to be going on.
So. Hopefully, if it is anything to do with depression or something like that, they get the help they need. And
Yeah. Well, one thing I was reading was that they were seeking help, and there was somebody helping them at the very least.
That's good.
So hopefully that continues, and hopefully this mess becomes a little less messy.
Yeah, no kidding. And then what was the other story? I have one other story we wanted to bring up. 1 second here. I will find it. Oh! Do we want to talk about the new Telltale games that have been announced?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes. Wolf Among Us 2, or Season 2, is coming out.
Oh, the first one was so good.
We also have a new Batman, and it seems like they're retiring the Walking Dead Telltale series.
About time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the 4th now.
Yeah, I feel like that's just been going on forever and ever and ever.
I'm
But
excited for the
doing
new.
well, right?
I'm excited for that new Batman as well. I really like the first one.
Really good,
It was really, really fun. Yeah, it was. Was it doing well still? I remember when it first came out, it was a big deal, and then
Batman?
No. Walking Dead.
I don't think the latest season.
And
did
then
really well at all.
and then I just kind of
because people just think it's kind of gone on too long. The first one, I think people really moved them because you had that kind of story of Clementine, the story of the kind of the father-daughter kind of relationship going on.
Yeah.
But then once you lost that, you kind of lost a lot of the kind of the heart of the story.
Totally. Plus, there are 2 separate Walking Dead television shows on at the same time,
There's
and
way too many.
And a comic book series. There's only so much Walking Dead people can take.
I watched the first few episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, then I gave up.
Yeah.
I mean, L.A. Walking Dead, why not?
yeah.
So, and the hype of the shows have kind of they don't have that crowd to piggyback off of anymore.
I mean, I think they're still one of the higher rated or higher ratings-wise cable shows, and they compete against network shows, which is impressive for a cable show that not everyone has.
Oh yeah, totally.
But I do think the numbers are waning compared to what they were at their peak.
I would imagine so.
They have to be.
Yeah.
And Phil, tell us some movie news.
I will do just that.
Woo!
So, well, first off, we can talk about that Pacific Rim trailer if you'd like. I just haven't seen it, so I can't talk about it. But
do you like the voice of Gladys?
Sure.
Okay. What about like cool anime-looking robots?
I do like those.
Then that's all there is.
Okay, well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about
Yes.
this.
I don't think it actually even shows any footage. It's just kind of
Yeah.
renderings of the different mechs.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Then
With
I
the
think
Brie
Idris-
Boyega appearance.
Is that supposed to be Idris Elba's son? Is that correct?
Oh, I don't know, actually.
think
I mean,
that's
that
the
would
storyline.
make sense.
That
really.
checks out, yeah.
So he's just kind of like there, like, I support the Jaegers are our future, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so it was done kind of like an in-movie ad.
Yeah, kind of similar to, reminiscent of Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
I like it.
Looks really cool.
Cool. And did you guys see the trailer for the new Guillermo del Toro movie that he actually directed?
No.
This week? The Shape of Water?
Yeah, originally people thought it was a Hellboy thing, but it's not.
Yeah, because there is like a creature who looks very similar to the one that David Hyde Pierce did the voice for in the
Ape
Hellboy movies.
Sapien, I think.
Yeah. No, it looks really wonderful. It's about it's set in the 60s, and it's about this deaf woman who discovers this underground laboratory that has this sort of gill man character in it.
Sort of like a creature from the Black Lagoon, but more friendly.
Yeah, more friendly, and they kind of like form some sort of connection. It looks very it looks like another like modern adult fairy tale, and one that looks very moving and unsettling. And
Is it
I'm
Spanish?
so on board.
Spanish language?
No, English language.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping for another kind of, backfire in marketing where everybody thinks it's like a fun kids movie, and then somebody's face gets smashed in with a wine bottle.
Sure, something like that'll happen. They shot it in Toronto last summer. So.
I mean, it is interesting because Del Toro, a lot of his more story-like ones are done in Spanish language, so I was wondering if
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, he hasn't done one in Spanish since Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I've been wondering.
Backbone before that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he did the 3 and Kronos as well, and they're great. But yeah, no, I've been waiting for him to do that for a while. My guess is just now that he has a family and everything, he doesn't really want to. He wants to stay in North America. He had a rough time in Mexico at one point. Yeah, when he came up to do, I want to say Mimic.
Okay.
One of his early American movies when like the word got out locally.
Was Mimic the one about the cockroach people?
Totally,
living
yeah.
Yeah, okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. No, word got out locally that he was up in Hollywood making money, and the drug cartels kidnapped his father and held him for ransom. And so
now he just has everyone up here.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't spend much time there anymore.
So
well, I mean, that would kind of throw you
totally
off
fair,
a little bit, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, he did go back to shoot both Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth, but hasn't since. My guess is just that, like, he's been able to make the, like, with Crimson Peak and this one, it seems like he's able to get some of the personal ones done up here now. So we'll see.
Where's he based out of now? Is it still,
Toronto?
Is he actually still based in
Toronto?
Toronto?
Yeah, he's been here since he shot Pacific Rim.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought he had an LA home and a...
I mean, I think he still has a home there, and he certainly goes down there for business and stuff. But for the most part, yeah, it's his family. The kids go to school up here. All that
that's
stuff.
crazy.
Yeah,
Nice,
it's really
good on him.
cool. Yeah, he lives in the beaches, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's where he has a house. So
Yeah.
If he's still up here. That's where he stays.
Yeah, totally. So cool. All right, next up, I guess we should probably talk about the death of George
I
Romero,
think
which
so.
was a very, very sad
He's very
thing.
iconic to Toronto as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's been living here since Land of the Dead.
Yep.
So. Yeah, just over 10 years
exactly,
now.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, that was very sad. It's obviously the guy that did Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Martin, The Crazies, Creep Show, very influential horror director. It's someone who I always like loved and who's always like great in the horror community. He just sort of had, beyond all the incredible influential stuff he did, he had a really bad run with the industry where basically everything he made that he's known for, he did independently in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And as soon as he came to Hollywood, he created the show Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
And other than that,
Oh, I remember that show.
yeah, that was his. And other than that, he just couldn't get work in Los Angeles to
Really?
save his life. Yeah, he used to say that he made, like, all the money he made during the 20 years in Los Angeles were developing screenplays that didn't get made. And he made, like, a couple small movies that, like Monkey Shines, which aren't great. Yeah. And, it was just kind of a sad situation where he, was able to do so well on his own, but never really got a chance to be embraced.
To be fair,
by industry.
Hollywood is kind of a weird industry.
It is, absolutely. And he also, like part of what made his work so good is that they were very personal, very political horror movies, which is not the sort of thing that the studios really want to finance, especially in the 80s. Yeah. So it's a bummer. There's some, unfulfilled potential there, but obviously he, by virtue of the fact that he created what we now know as the zombie, he will be remembered forever. Yeah, totally. So it was very sad. But
he was in his 80s.
Yes,
he was not young.
Yeah, no, he was not young. He did quite well. But anyway,
still sad to hear.
He'll be missed, of course. And then next up, it's not really movie news, more TV thing, but they announced the new Doctor Who this week.
I thought it was a good choice.
Yeah, Jodie Whittaker, who I only really know from Attack the Block, but she's good in Attack the Block.
I just remember from that one episode of Black Mirror.
Oh, she was in Black Mirror too.
The rewind implant one.
Oh, right.
She's been around the British television scene for quite some time.
Yeah.
But her role in Broadchurch was really good. The kind of grieving mother thing going on.
And she's really, like, in the future seasons, she's been really developing the character and giving it a lot of depth, and I think she'll do the same with the new Doctor.
It should be fun.
I think it's a good choice. I don't understand why the internet got upset, but the internet likes getting upset.
I thought they were not as upset as I thought they would be.
Yeah.
I expected more backlash, but maybe the Doctor Who community isn't as...
But also, I'm going to throw it out there, like, random MRA groups were getting upset. And I'm going to throw it out there. I bet they don't watch Doctor Who.
Yeah, but they're going to be the same. They're always going to get upset.
Absolutely.
Like, how did they get rid of a man's role?
Yeah.
Where's all our? What are we going to do if we don't have men roles anymore?
I agree with Brendan. I didn't see as much. I mean, I know there was, but comparatively, compared to like Ghostbusters, I saw more people getting upset about people getting ready for people to be upset about people being upset about the whole thing. And like, poof.
I was kind of pleasantly surprised with that. I mean, it's not a show that I really watch myself, but I have a couple friends that really like it, and I was like, oh, there's going to be so much backlash, and there kind of wasn't.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and I think it's just probably because Doctor Who's still just a little bit more niche. Like Ghostbusters is more of a pop thing. I feel like people that are into Doctor Who probably aren't. There's probably not a lot of overlap between the MRA groups and Doctor Who. You know what I mean?
It's a more, because it's so niche. It's part of a collective community that is still very much like, let's be inclusive to everybody.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a great trend to see, and I want more groups to be like that.
And it's been a pretty inclusive show. I mean, like, aside from the fact that the doctor was always a white guy before, it was a pretty inclusive beyond that. So it makes sense. Yeah. So anyway, that was a nice thing. And whoops. Here we go. All right. Yeah, I don't have many this week.
It's been a slow week.
It has been. But Comic-Con's this weekend, so I'm sure I'll have way too many
things
to talk about next week.
It's going to be just all the news.
For sure. So, there's one thing that John Watts has signed on to direct the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. He did a good job with the first one, so I'm fine with that. Nothing really odd there. Next up, this is kind of a weird one. So... Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, they're a directing team. They made the Catfish movie and Paranormal Activity 3. They're currently in talks to direct a Mega Man movie at 20th Century Fox.
You think, sure, why not?
Yeah.
They have the rights, so I guess. So why not?
I guess they're going to do it.
I just hope the soundtrack's good.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Real synthwavy chiptune kind of stuff.
Yeah, they better bring some of the music from Mega Man 2 into it, or I'm going to be upset. And it better start with Mega Man. Start or finish with Mega Man on the top of a skyscraper with his hair blowing in the wind.
Absolutely.
These are very important things. But, yeah, I mean, it's hard to do video game movies. I think Mega Man's not a horrible choice. What they do with it, I don't know. And I actually do quite like them as filmmakers. I think Catfish is great, and their Paranormal Activity 3 was really good. And the last movie that they did, Nerve, I really liked for an hour, and then it got really horrible. But that first hour was really good. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how to feel about that yet. I have to see what Mega Man looks like before I make any difference.
It could be really bad or really good.
If it's a weird, sexy Mega Man, I'm not gonna be all for it.
Actually,
I want
to
I want a sexy Mega Man.
Yeah, I want him just kind of maybe having a man bun, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, probably.
You're really all about the man buns today.
I feel that's how we tap into a hipster demographic.
We'll have more to say about that later on when we talk about games.
Fair enough. And then the last thing I have isn't really a news story, and that it's not like current news, but it's just a fun thing I read this week, which is someone did an oral history of the movie Face Off, which I adore.
Really?
And they said that in the guy who was supposed to direct it for John Woo, who I believe directed Demolition Man, told a story where the original cast was Nicolas Cage and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And then right before Johnny Depp was about to sign his contract and make it official, he finally read the script and realized it wasn't about hockey and quit.
Okay, that's amazing.
I mean, it gave us creepy, psycho,
Travolta.
rapey Travolta, so,
Oh, they went the right way, for sure. And also, John Woo ended up directing it, which made a big difference, too.
Yeah.
But that's just hysterical.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
He thought it was about hockey.
Yeah. And then quit immediately.
Like, no, it's not about hockey. We want to mention because there's some film news that came out.
Okay.
No, sorry, TV news.
Okay.
Completely opposite of film.
Yeah.
Well, do anyone here watch American Horror Story?
Oh, Lena Dunham's going to be on it? Yeah, I heard that. Okay.
And it's taking place during the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Which
really?
That's
kind of
bizarre
funny.
I mean, I'm keen to see I've never watched American Horror Story, so I probably won't watch this one, but I mean, the setting is definitely intriguing.
Well, yeah, I'm curious to see what the concept is,
and then
for
they
sure.
have the concept that the people that did Game of Thrones are looking to do a new show.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've the Civil War,
lot of
Civil War as if the South won.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone is losing their mind.
Yeah, they're not excited about that.
I don't understand why people are so upset, because it's not like this is going to be in a world where the South won and it's great that we still have slaves. Like, the whole point is that it's going to be about...
Like,
I think a lot of the backlash I read was black people complaining that they were sick of just having black people in slave roles and getting treated shit. Like, there's more they can do, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And that there's guaranteed to be some, like, woke white girl that kind of comes to the rescue. And I don't know. I mean, obviously they don't have to go that route, and you're right. They're not going to show the slave-owning South as being like, man, wouldn't it be better if things were this way?
Yeah, totally. Like, I understand people being concerned about it, but I want to wait and see what the take is before I find it offensive.
I mean, they did a really good job with Game of Thrones, but
For
that
sure.
was with the material they had. So
totally.
It could go one of two ways. One is awful, and one is, that's interesting.
Yeah. For sure. It just felt weird to me that, like, the reaction seemed to be
Universally negative. Yeah.
Well, just people were assuming that this was going to be like a TV show for red states. What I think is going to be the exact opposite.
Oh yeah, of course. It's going to be basically, you don't actually want this. Look at how horrible this is.
Totally, yeah. So I don't know. I'm waiting to reserve judgment on that. It's definitely provocative. Like, they got the attention they wanted.
Oh yeah,
so.
like HBO's definitely going to make it now because look at how much attention
everyone's talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So.
interesting. We'll see.
Totally.
Should we take a break?
Yeah. Actually, hold on. I wanted to touch on something because we talked about this last week.
Okay.
The cast of Aladdin.
Yes.
They actually cast people.
And they did cast Bollywood people, like we were talking about last week.
They did. They cast Mina Masood.
Yeah.
He's playing Aladdin, and Will Smith is the genie,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Naomi Scott is Jasmine.
Apparently, Mina. How do you say his name?
I think it's Mena.
Apparently, he lives in Toronto or has.
Yeah,
lived.
he's Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
yeah,
those
sure.
those are all fair choices.
Yeah,
Those
I
I have no real complaints.
do a good job, and
I mean, Will Smith as the genie,
I mean,
I'm kind of wishy-washy about, but big shoes to fill. So,
I because Robin Williams kind of made that character his own. He has to go a completely different.
Oh,
way.
absolutely. He can't. Yeah, there's no doing like the same thing.
No.
It has to be totally different. You
But
can't.
even then, because there's a lot of that was just Robin Williams riffing.
Yeah.
And if you lose that character is no. It has to be a completely different character.
So what angle do you think they're going to go for with Will Smith?
I think they're going to probably do whatever script originally was set for the genie.
Yeah, I'm just excited that it means there's a very good chance we're probably going to get a Will Smith movie rap again.
Yeah.
Well, he rapped at Comic-Con.
Totally.
He did a rap about the genie.
Oh, God.
Yeah, totally. So it's definitely going to be Rap and Genie, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, there might be like a tie-in music
Yeah.
video.
So does this mean Jaden Smith will get like shoehorned in somehow?
Yeah.
into a
Can
role?
only he'll be Pooh, the monkey.
Oh yeah.
Staring blankly and making sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The problem I have with this is Aladdin, because that movie was basically the genie and kind of how that interaction kind of worked. These Disney movies have basically been recreations, almost shot for shot, of the original things.
And they're obviously going to do all the songs again.
So
'cause
they
run lots of
physically
songs,
cannot
yeah.
make that exact move. That movie cannot be exactly recreated because a lot of that was Robin Williams riffing. And you can't have Will Smith doing a riff of Robin Williams riffing because it would look awful.
Yeah, totally.
So they're at least going to have to do some originality with that.
Totally.
part.
Well, and also the fact that this Guy Ritchie is just such a weird choice. I'm curious to see how
So I was
it's gonna
looking
go.
at so Guy Ritchie also did the King Arthur movie, right?
Yeah.
That movie really tanks.
Yeah, it was
Modern
really bad.
classic.
Yeah. So he's got to be thrilled that he got this job already.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be getting it now.
No.
Yeah, no.
That movie.
Has Guy Ritchie done a good movie in the past?
Yeah, I like the Sherlock Holmes movies that he did.
Oh,
with
okay, yeah, I was
Robert Downey
kinda-
Jr. quite a
I don't
bit.
hate them,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're very good.
They're fun.
I would like to see a Sherlock Holmes version of Aladdin.
Yeah.
I'm a little intrigued now.
That
I
was
gotta
fun.
say.
And I also really like this Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie.
I liked that.
It
That
was
was
really
good.
Oh, I
good.
didn't see that, but
it's actually
yeah.
good.
If you want a copy of the movie, we have it in the box.
All right.
Oh, seriously? I may take one of those actually. But that's it's so fun. Yeah, I like that. Well, the weird thing about that is like that Steven Soderbergh developed that
Yeah.
and then quit, so it feels more like Steven Soderbergh.
It,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was
He just,
the way the dialogue's filmed,
totally.
framed, and everything.
You can really tell it was. Yeah.
All right, now is a good time to take
Okay.
a break, so we can hear from our sponsors from Buns Podcast Network and Comic Bento.
Whoa.
Man, I wish I could get new comics every month, but I'm broke and oddly always $5 short. Lame.
Wait, $5 short, you say? Well, I've got something special for you.
What the hell was that?
It's me, the discount ghost of coupons past. Are you scared?
What the
Use the code CGMEG in all caps, all one word, to get $5 off your next Comic Bento subscription.
So wait, if I use the code CGMAG all in caps, all one word, I get $5 off my next comic bento?
Yes, use the code CGMEG in all caps, all one word, and get $5 off your next Comic Bento.
A whole $5, eh? Now that's scary.
The Pixels and Ink podcast is brought to you by Buns, your city network. Buns connects you to the people in your neighborhood to help you find the things you need to fuel your real life. Swap things you already have to get items you need. You can also find jobs that pay the bills, homes for rent, advice, and a place to talk about your city. Buns is available online at buns.com and on your phones via the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
Thanks, Buns Podcast Network and Comic Bento, and welcome back, everybody. So, Phil, you've got some great things to tell us about movies today, don't you?
I do. I have several movies to talk about. we got 3 movies we're going to talk about today. One of them, I should say right up front, one of them is not Dunkirk, even though that opens this week because I wasn't able to. I'm seeing it immediately after this podcast. We'll discuss that next week.
Fair enough.
But
I'm
the other,
really sad because I really can't.
I know. Hey, trust me, me too. No one more than me. All right, but the first one that I saw, the one that I did see, the big movie that I did see for this week is Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, which I'll only call Valerian from here on out because that's too much.
Yeah, so is this supposed to be like part of a massive trilogy or something like that?
No, so what it is it's a latest film by Luc Besson, and who made The Fifth Element, and it's very, very similar to The Fifth Element, which ironically came out 20 years ago, so it's a weird like little nostalgia throwback to The Fifth Element in its own way. Now, what it is it's based on a French comic book series that has been going on for years that Besson was a big fan of as a kid and inspired the aesthetic of The Fifth Element. So, it's a big, goofy, cartoony sci-fi space opera like that. The plot's very convoluted, but like in basic terms, Dane DeHaan and God, I always forget her last name.
Cara Delevingne?
Yeah, Cara Delevingne. Thank you. Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne play 2 space secret agents.
Of course,
who go around taking care of space crimes. And in the very beginning of the movie, Dane DeHaan has a nightmare about this like avatar race of like perfect primitive aliens who have like little pets that poop pearls. He has a dream of them being destroyed and their entire planet being wiped out and being annihilated. And then he wakes up and has to do this very bizarre caper involving this gigantic intergalactic mall that's so gigantic that you just go to the desert and put on virtual reality glasses and go to stores from various planets all over the universe, and then through matter transmitters get your items from it.
That is insane.
It's really insane, yeah. So they have to do a heist there to steal a thing that turns out to be related to those creatures that Dane DeHaan had the dream about, and then they go to this giant intergalactic spaceport.
And he's the good guy.
Yeah. Okay. And then they go to this big spaceport where they meet the like space commander played by Clive Owen, and he's all angry and evil and stuff. And a bunch of stuff goes wrong and everything connects. So it is very it
sounds nice and simple.
Yeah.
Like a bare bones plot.
I know. It's very convoluted, but it is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Like The Fifth Element, the art style is very much done from 60s, 70s sort of psychedelic sci-fi comics. Everything's very bright and bold and looks like, looking at the back of a Journey cover on acid or something like that.
That's the only way I look at my Journey covers.
Yeah, exactly.
On acid. All the acid.
Exactly. But it is very big and goofy and broad, and it's just filled with all sorts of strange play. Like there's also at one point they go to the like red light district and the space hub, and Ethan Hawke is running a strip club that has a shapeshifter played by Rihanna who does a strip dance that involves her going through like every single possible fetishized stripper woman at one point or another. It's very bizarre. There's like a group of like these underground space hogs that eat people. It's a little overdone, but it is very in keeping with The Fifth Element. And if you like that brand of like goofy, silly, cartoonish space opera, this recaptures it and is a ton of fun. Visually, it's incredible because he got over $200 million to do it. So it is done. It is this ridiculous, psychedelic, very, very French, very surreal science fiction movie done on that scale with gorgeous 3D. And the only really problem I had with it is that ultimately Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne they're good actors and they get away with it, but the whole movie is kind of done in like ironic quotation marks where everyone is aware of how silly it is except for the two of them. Okay. And they aren't quite as funny, and they don't quite have the chemistry that their characters should have, because it is also kind of a love story between them. And that harms it a bit, but that's fairly minor. Now, it is important to note that as like imaginative and gigantic and fun and goofy as it is incredibly stupid. Okay. So you have to enjoy that. You have to like Luc Besson's particular brand of like Euro trash action idiocy. But if you do, I had such a good time with this.
Now let me ask you. So it had a production budget of $209 million.
Yeah.
Will it make that back?
Worldwide, I think it'll probably do okay. I think the fact that it's coming out opposite Dunkirk,
Yeah.
like pretty well guarantees that it's going to tank
At
this
least
weekend.
here, right? Because it seems, like you said, I know it has a huge, or the comic book series anyway, has a big following in France.
Yeah, across Europe and I think in Japan as well.
Okay.
So I think worldwide it will probably, much like the fifth element, like the fifth element's kind of like a classic now, but it did not do well when it came out in North America, but it made a fortune worldwide.
Okay.
And did fine. And I think that that's going to be the same thing here.
Okay.
Like it's not going to make $1 billion. But I'm sure it will overall probably make around 400 or 500. I think, and I think it's a shame that it's coming out opposite Dunkirk because that pretty well guarantees that it's going to die a death in the U.S. And I think it's something that, like, if they'd released in August when there's not as much summer stuff, I think they could have done quite well with it. I'm sure that their thinking was just counter programming.
Like you don't want to see war movies, see this ridiculous action.
Yeah. Like here's a big goofy comic book thing this weekend. The problem being that because Dunkirk's by Christopher Nolan, all the comic book people are going to that anyway. So they really shot themselves in the foot on that one. But it's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Again, with the understanding that it is deeply stupid, in addition to being
I expect nothing left.
Totally. So that's good. And then next up is a ghost story.
Yes.
It was a movie by David Lowery, who did that Pete's Dragon reboot last year, which was actually quite good.
I heard that was good.
Yeah, and it's a very strange movie in that it is about, it stars Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara as a kind of like ho-hum indie movie couple, and then very early on, Casey Affleck dies and comes back in a ghost to haunt her, but when he comes back as a ghost, he is a bedsheet ghost, like a Charlie Brown Halloween special. And the movie does acknowledge how ridiculous that is, but it is like this very, like, oddly beautiful and hypnotic sort of movie about time and love and regret and death and ghosts, and he sort of sticks by her throughout her time there and then stays in the house and haunts a couple other families, sometimes scaring them, sometimes just watching them, and goes on for decades, and then eventually time loops and he actually like sees the like it goes right back to like a battle between Native Americans and settlers on the soil, which is why it became a haunted land, and then and loops back all the way, so he actually goes through the whole relationship from the beginning, and there where he was actually haunting himself at a certain point.
That is super weird.
Very bizarre and very, very.
I guess you have no concept of time anymore. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, totally. So it's very interesting. It's very beautifully shot. It was really reminded me a lot of Gus Van Sant's Elephant, the movie did about Columbine. So there's a lot of very long, creeping takes, a lot of like eerie silences, and it has this odd tone where, like, at first I thought it was just ridiculous and it wasn't going anywhere, and then it kind of creeps up on you and actually has a lot to say, and is quite profound. But at the same time, like, well, it is aware of how ridiculous it is, and it will poke fun at it, so it doesn't feel pretentious. But it is amazing that, like, by the end, you actually are emotionally attached to Casey Affleck in a bedsheet, which shouldn't be possible.
No.
But there is like quite a profound connection there, and they do use that image in really creepy and poetic ways I didn't think were possible with a bedsheet ghost. So it is like a very fascinating experiment, and I highly recommend it for people that like kind of offbeat kind of art horror movies.
And I heard this was like 30-page script or something, so there's not very much dialogue.
Yeah, no, there's very little dialogue. It is mostly just sort of like lingering and wandering.
Huh.
But it's far more entertaining and effective than that sounds. Yeah, it's one of those movies where, like, when you hear it described, it sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But it works, which is exactly what the Pete's Dragon remake was. When, like, hearing, we're going to do Pete's Dragon, we're going to do it serious this time. And, like, the worst thing in the world. And then somehow it did kind of oddly work in this strange way. And that's, between these two movies, that David Lowery, I think, is a really fascinating filmmaker that is worth following. And we haven't.
You talked to him?
Yep, we did an interview with him for the site, so you can check that out.
Awesome.
And I recommend, seeking out Ghost Story if you like really offbeat
And that's
things.
playing at the TIFF Bell Lightbox
I
right
believe
now.
so. It's playing at the Lightbox, and I think there's probably another venue or two around town, but
Maybe.
I'm not 100% sure.
And it's probably playing in New York and LA.
Oh yeah. And I think they'll try to give it enough of a push. Like, I don't think it'll ever be widely released, but I'm sure if you have
An art cinema.
you have an art cinema in your city, or even if you have a like AMC that plays,
maybe an Alamo Draft House.
yeah, totally. Or even if you have like an AMC or
Yeah.
that plays the occasional independent film, I'm sure it'll sneak in there because it has movie stars in it, and it's a very
Yeah, Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck.
totally, and it's a very like sellable premise for something so
Ridiculous.
bizarre. But I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, speaking of off balance, is we Shudder, the all horror movie streaming series. We keep track of the movies that get exclusively released on there, and one came out this week called Kuso. That's the first movie directed by Flying Lotus, the electronic music artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard a lot about this actually, like ages ago, and then
It played at Sundance, and like a third of the audience walked out and said it was the most disgusting movie ever made.
Like way over the top.
Yeah, and it is up there for most disgusting movie ever made for sure.
So why?
Well, it's hard to describe because he did it. One of his main collaborators on the movies was, you guys remember Salad Fingers from the
yeah.
With Salad Fingers. He did it with Salad Fingers. So that should give you a sense of the type of very creepy, odd surrealism it is. Like it starts with this weird music video that sets up this world where there's this giant earthquake in Los Angeles, and so now everyone that lives in Los Angeles is covered with these giant pus-filled orbs. And then there's sort of like 5. I hesitate to call them narratives, but 5 shorts that are interconnected, and each one tries to top themselves with how unsettling it is. Like Tim Heidecker from Tim and Eric's in it, and he plays a guy that lives in a toilet who has sex with this strange creature that's just every orifice imaginable. There's a woman who's like, you see stumbling through caves looking for a baby for a long time, and then it turns out that's an anus that she's in, a giant anus. There's a doctor that has a poo eating creature on his bottom. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's some
pretty there's very
amazing looking.
Yeah, there you go. So and then there's animated interludes like that. That's what Salad Fingers did. So it's a very it's a combination of like almost like abstract art surrealism and gross out body horror, and it's funny too. There's some like Adult Swim kind of dark humor in it. And it is like an endurance test, but it is all fascinating. It's kind of funny and charming and oddly moving. But it is like totally disgusting and completely nonsensical.
I mean, right now I'm reading a headline. Most vile movie ever made.
100%.
That's like 3 different headlines. Most disgusting movie.
You've sold me.
It's
I don't know
certainly
what
up
their
there.
target demographic is.
Yeah. Pitchfork claims it is the most vile movie ever made. Esquire claims it's the most disgusting movie ever made.
Yeah, I don't know about ever. I've seen some gross stuff, but it's definitely like top tier. And it's also filled with weird pop culture references. Like there's one sequence that's done to sound effects from Mortal Kombat. It feels.
Got some big names in the.
There's a lot of big. It's got a great soundtrack and big cast. George Clinton from the Funk Master. Yes. He plays an abortion doctor in it.
Of course he does.
So it is.
Does he get funky with it?
You know it. So it is fascinating, and it's one of those movies where I don't know if I can say I liked it. I definitely admired it. I will 100% never forget it.
Do you ever want to see it again?
Maybe not right away. Maybe someday.
Is it wide release?
No, it's on Shudder. As we were saying, Shudder picked it up, so it's exclusively on Shudder. It's not playing in theaters. But if you like that kind of like gross out surrealist stuff, I highly recommend it. If you like Flying Lotus, I highly recommend it. If you like Adult Swim stuff, I highly recommend it. It is very unique, and it felt like a kind of an interesting mix between like old fashioned like Louis Bernal, Salvador Dali, surrealist filmmaking, and Adult Swim surrealist dark humor or like internet
anti-humor
memes. Yeah, it feels very like a combination between like avant-garde and very contemporary goof off internet humor. It was a very unique mix. I hope he does another movie. I hope he waits a while so I don't kind of have a break, but I hope he does something else. It's about 90 minutes.
So it's not that long.
Oh, so legit endurance test.
Oh, totally.
Really.
Well, there
an
are
hour and a half of that.
Oh, for sure. There are times when it feels longer than 90 minutes, I assure you. But it is playful as well. I don't know. It was fascinating.
So it does have an actual storyline of.
I mean, like stuff happens and characters reoccur. I wouldn't call it a story. but yeah, there's enough to latch onto to go through. It felt like he had like 5 different ideas for shorts and then weave them together so that they form this bizarre perverted picture. But anyway, I've never seen anything quite like it, and I really, if you're someone that likes to like push the limits of whether it's acceptable in imagery, then you owe it to yourself to see it.
So the description on IMDb is: a bizarre mutated survivors of Los Angeles nightmarish earthquake broadcast their stories on a makeshift network of discarded televisions.
Sure. Yeah, I buy it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we got your review for that coming up this
Yep,
weekend, right?
That'll be should be up today. Today's Friday.
Valerian.
It's not Thursday.
Pardon?
Today's Friday when they're listening to the podcast. It's not Thursday.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't know
that's
it
why I'm
was
saying
gonna-
today.
Okay, so it's going up today.
Yeah.
I was thinking tomorrow more than today.
Yeah.
Meaning Saturday.
Oh, I see. Well,
But
okay. Well,
it'll be up
whatever.
today.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so games, guys. Who's played what?
Well, you guys have been playing Dream Daddy.
Oh, did we
Oh, yeah.
ever?
Dream Daddy. How was that?
Brendan,
It
what do you
was,
think of Dream Daddy?
Yeah, well, I've never played a
Dating
dating sim before, let alone one where you're a recently widowed, I think,
Who knows?
Yeah.
father. They
Well,
don't really
it
explain what
implies it.
happened to your
Significant
child's
other?
mom / dad, because we picked mom.
We picked. Well, you could pick mom or dad.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is fine. It implies that there is a widower situation happening
Mm-hmm.
there.
And there's a weird Pokemon mini game where you're trying to one up another father and his daughter's accomplishments, which, I mean, after teaching skiing, snowboarding for so many years, that was accurate, and that parents really want their kid to be the best, even though it's,
Doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there's more of that. We only played maybe
And
an
we got to
hour?
the second dad,
Yeah,
the cooler dad in the coffee
You
shop.
got the hipster dad.
Yeah.
and there's a divergent kind of storyline, so it's not like you're going to meet the same dads in every order that you play. So I think there's some. Based
Oh
on
yeah,
what we
because we
played, there should
chose
be
to
some.
go to the coffee shop or whatever. Instead
Yeah,
of
you could have went to
napping.
sleep.
And we chose
Yeah.
to go to the park too.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could have
So-
went unpacked and not gone to the park and stayed inside and.
Yeah, we decided to be an active father
Yes.
and take our kid out to the park,
And-
even though she's
Aw,
like
good for you
a
guys.
senior in high school.
It's what dads do.
Yeah.
They're involved parents.
It's interesting how the game starts. You kind of start by looking through photos and making comments on what your daughter did.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to kind of put the preface of what kind of character you're playing,
Yeah.
because that's where all those choices came out as to what your backstory
Yeah.
was.
Mhm.
And
I did like the build your own dad thing.
yeah, we spent quite a bit of time.
Well,
Trying to
that's
make
half the
perfect
fun. I
dad.
mean, with any RPG, I'd say, yeah, a good chunk of the fun for me is making the character, and then once I play, I'm like, oh, I don't care anymore.
And then on Loadout, it already comes out with a lot of pretty great choices and
Yeah.
customization abilities,
Mhm.
which is kind of fun. And on Twitter right now, the devs are having people post their dads.
Oh, we should
sharing
put
that.
up.
We gotta post our dad.
Yeah, Kitty Santa,
So look forward to that either today or
our bearded, top-knotted, purple-eyed hipster dad.
hipster
He's
dad.
wearing like a pink. It's
Oh, it's
suit,
the
but
cat-
a
it's the
Pink
cat
and purple.
shirt.
Yeah.
So it's Kitty Santa is his name, because
He
got
looks
a
like
cat
Santa.
and he looks
I
like
like it.
Santa.
I like it.
We were gonna go with fashion Santa, but then we were afraid of liability and copyright infringement.
So he became Kitty Santa.
Yeah, because of the Yorkdale thing.
Yeah,
So,
I
they have
mean-
more money than we do.
So the daughter's what was the daughter's name?
Amanda.
Amanda Santa.
Amanda Santa.
It seemed like a cute little game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to play more. I thought it was fun.
I don't think there's gonna be much depth to it, but
I want to see what dad we end up with.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how many different branches the story's
Yeah.
gonna go into,
Mhm.
and I know there's in the original website for it, they were showing the initial dads that you're gonna see, and a few unlockable dads maybe, or dads that are just sort of like end game dads that we gotta find. So
End game dads.
end game dads. I don't know. I'm sure they'll if this does well, they'll do some updates
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. So we'll.
I mean, it was a big install for what appears to be like a simple,
Yeah.
like graphically
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, it doesn't seem like a huge game, but it was like 7 gigs, so there must be
Something there.
some more under the surface there.
I mean, they had all those different mini games and stuff like that, so it could be interesting.
Oh, that's true
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I'm interested.
I think it'll be fun, and we're gonna have a review for that one up
Yeah,
sometime.
because it only
coming week.
unlocked for
When
the
it
press at the
launched.
same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So our reviewer Kenneth is going to get that as soon as possible.
Yeah, so we're gonna see that soon. But anyway, fun
Exciting.
game. Totally recommend it.
Cool.
And Phil, you played something
I
really
did,
fun.
yeah. I played Splatoon 2, which I got a big kick out of. So I played Splatoon on the Wii U, and it was a good time. And I was excited when they were bringing it back, and they pretty well just did the same thing, and not in a bad way.
Is it the
In
same,
a Nintendo
basically
way.
the same game?
Pretty much,
Okay.
like in a Nintendo way, in as much as like when a new Smash Brothers
Yeah.
or a new Mario Kart comes out, like they're different, but it's the same.
Okay.
And that's fine by me because I really do like the mechanic of it. I think it's a really fun, really
Yeah.
well designed world. I think the shooting matches can be incredibly fun. It can be incredibly intoxicating
Right.
and addictive. And yeah, the graphics are updated. It looks beautiful. Everything's so bright and poppy. It really shines on an HD TV, and works well whether you're playing on the portable Switch screen or with the Switch controller. The new guns are great. They updated different weapons, different stages. My favorite was you could shoot with a pistol in either hand, and when you did that, you also got a tuck and roll diving shooting move, which was great because it was very John Woo, and I like John Woo, and that was a good time. I have a couple minor gripes with it though. The main one being that they kind of advertised very vocally that it has local co-op, and it does, provided you have a friend that also has a Switch and a game, and then you can play locally together with your two Switches and games, which is not local co-op, and that was really irritating to me. Yeah, no, not at all, and I wish they hadn't done that. It's really irritating. I don't know why they can't have split screen.
I'm sure they could. My
guess is it's either a space thing on those little cartridges, or it's because I turn it off, but the default mode is that the Y-axis is controlled by motion control, and maybe it's just too confusing for the sensors to have two controllers at once doing the motion control. But even if it's that, that's ridiculous.
The first game had 2-player, didn't it?
Not co-op.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, definitely not. And the other gripe I have with it is that when you play online, you have to get, I forget what the total is, but it's really high. It's something like 12 players. And if you can't get 12, it won't do a match. So I found that particularly during the review period, it would take like 3 tries before I can get any match going.
So it's 12 or nothing?
Yeah, it's 12 or nothing. And they don't have bots or anything like that. And that I find very irritating. That I need to fix. Now, once it's live and the game's up and people actually own Switches, unlike the Wii U, that hopefully won't be too much of an issue.
You had a problem with the original Splatoon where after a little while, they kept having to have these events just to bring people back into the game.
Oh, totally, yeah. So I think that's a mistake. I think they should work out a way to have either like bots or smaller matches or something, particularly because like the only really way that you can upgrade and get new weapons or anything is through online matches. They don't really have... Yeah, that's how you get all the currency.
Weird. Is there a story mode?
There is a story mode. There's a single-player mode. It's sort of a platforming game. That's a lot of fun. The boss designs were great. There was one boss that was this giant oven that sped out evil toast. That was fantastic. There's one that was a samurai riding around on a paint roller. That was great. It's really well designed and fun, and you do get to like unlock weapons that you can use there, but that doesn't translate around to the multiplayer.
Oh, that's weird.
Which again, I don't care for that either. So there are little small gripes I have like that, but overall, I think what they're doing with that is great. It doesn't surprise me that like you already see the characters popping up as iconic Nintendo characters already. I think
that's what they do though.
Totally, and I think they actually managed to manufacture a franchise that I think is strong enough that they can sustain it, and I think they did. In as much as like, with Nintendo, with flagship Nintendo franchises like this, it's just sort of like a new generation for each system. I think they updated enough that this does feel fresh, and also was just fun to see that it still works again.
That's
it's
awesome.
Not, it holds up to other rounds, and I think it's a lot of fun. And if you didn't have a Wii U, so I'm talking to almost all of you, you should. I recommend trying it because this is a really fun game that they've done, and they did a great job for the Switch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and Brendan, you didn't play anything.
I played Diablo. No one wants to hear more of Diablo. No one.
Yeah, play a new game by next week. That's your homework.
Okay.
Well, I guess that wraps us up. Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you like what you hear or you want to know more about things that we talked about, please visit us at cgmagonline.com or follow us on Twitter at cgmagonline. Everyone else got their Twitter, Phil?
At that Phil Brown.
And you're on
No Twitter for Brendan.
No Twitter for Brendan. And Brendan Frye.
B426.
And I'm at Lisa Awesome with no E's. You can follow us on Facebook at CG Magazine, on Instagram at CGMagOnline. And thanks again to Buns Podcast Network and Comic Bento for sponsoring the podcast. From everyone here at CG Magazine, have a great weekend.
Woo-woo.
Bye, guys.